What's up? What's up? What's going on? Welcome to RF Deal Desk. What's going on, guys? Just got some great news on a deal that a party, put my phone on Do Not Disturb, a party that we had filed a partition against reached out to my title attorney and said, hey, we didn't know that the other side wanted to buy our side. We'd be happy to discuss it. So I got a call with the other owner after this call, so that would be fun. It's funny when you sue somebody, magically everything changes, right? So this guy didn't care about this beforehand. Now he cares. So good afternoon, Mr. Will. What's up, John Sudlow? All right, so for tonight, let me get my stuff over here. First of all, I hope you guys are joining us for our webinar tonight, which is at 6 p.m., so in about an hour from now, 6 Eastern time. I'm going to be going over a bunch of really good stuff, documents, acquisition kind of stuff, all that. That'll be right after this call. If not, we will get started right off the bat. So if anybody has a deal that they want to review right off the bat, let's go. Let's do it. Pop in your addresses. You guys know the deal. You guys have been here. Yesterday's example was awesome. I hope everybody got a lot of value from that. Clearly, I got a lot of feedback from it, so that's always good to know. And I think it struck a lot of chords with a lot of different people, right? And that was a doozy, man. That was a crazy ass deal with that situation with the seller. So, all right. If we don't have any, I'm just gonna go right into it. And where I'm gonna go, you guys know where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to the auction site because these are some of the best leads money can buy. And we're actually gonna go back into the last 3 months. Okay, so we're gonna go to the ones that haven't sold yet. So we're gonna go over here. A lot of auctions get canceled, guys, and the reason that they get canceled is different reasons, but the main reason is usually like a bankruptcy, right? A seller either reaches an agreement with the lender, that's less likely. Most of the times they're canceled per bankruptcy. So for example, let's go over here and let's look at, like, this is a pretty good one. This was 35 of them, right? So you can see here, and I just want to show you guys, right? You can see here, canceled per county, canceled per bankruptcy, This actually sold to a plaintiff for $332,000. Whoever this person was got a great deal. I could just tell because I know the address. And look, the lender was owed 464 G's, and they accepted 332. So not bad. Here we go. Third party bidder. Final judgment amount. Well, this is a great address. 556. It went over by about 200K. So the lender made out pretty good here. Third party bidder right here. This is not a bad one. It went off for 346. Let's see, just out of curiosity, what this house is worth. Do you have to be a bidder to create an account? No, you could just create an account and it's a free account. So this was Hialeah. All right. It's a little cluster home. Yeah, it's not bad, I would say. They won it for 346. I mean, the house was probably pretty clean. It's about what it's worth, I would say. Let me see what the prop appraise, or excuse me, our RF Deal Finder app says over here. Ooh. Come on. There we go. Yep, so they tried to sell it for 430. Seller was being silly, and they ended up going to auction. You see, guys, this is a real world scenario. This happens all the time, right? Where the sellers try to play coy, right? And look, right here. So she listed it for 137 days, okay? And she starts high, because of course she was greedy. 450, reduces to 430. The market says, No way, Jose. She rode this baby all the way down to the line to the auction. And what a buyer actually paid was $346 cash at the foreclosure auction. Shame on the seller and shame on the realtor because they could have done a better job. Hi, Will. To win a house at auction, do you have to have cash in hand? Yes, or have a good lender. I'm not actually gonna buy from this auction site. Let me make that abundantly clear, right? I just go here to pick off a really good list of properties to go after because they have a lot of motivation. So I like going after this list, especially the closer it is to their auction date, the better, right? You have to give yourself enough time to have a little bit of a buffer, right? Like if the auction's tomorrow, that's really tight unless you have the cash and you're going to be flying blind. You're not going to get a title search, lien search, or nothing. So that's a lot of risk. But I more so want to grab this, run the play, and show you guys what a really good deal would be like. So let's just take a look at this one. All right, this is where we're going to go. And also, it's a free list. Like it's a renewing list too, by the way. So, for example, I'm in November, right? And the reason why I went back, guys, is because a lot of people will file for bankruptcy and they'll buy themselves like 60 to 90 days. So November's people are gonna be motivated again in January, February, right around now, because that little trick that they pulled with bankruptcy, which is usually just a tactic, the game's over. And the judge says, bankruptcy dismissed, boom, foreclosure restarts from the last place that they were at. So they reset an auction date, bam, bam. That's how they got here in the first place. So now you can catch that person with more motivation. Then the second list I run is from February, which is the month that we're at right now, like February 19th, into the future on. So I would go to like March, April, May, and I would market to those people. So you could do it either way, which is, just a smarter way to do it, in my opinion. So I grabbed this address. This is the house, very big house. You can already tell, right? This is an image from 2025. You can tell that the house looks dated, correct? The shutters, the garage, the paint, the blinds on the inside, right? The windows. It does have a Mac Daddy brand new AC unit, right? The garage door is kind of broken over here. Anyway, so I know what I'm looking for and I see it here. Now we're going to grab this address and we're going to run it through our Deal Finder app. Here it is. And again, this would have been on the foreclosure list and high equity because it seems to have high equity. However, we'll see what happened. The last mortgage was 2006. So 156.15, correct? Yep. All right, so I'm going to click into this one. This has been going on since 2019. Imagine that. This person's been in foreclosure for 7 years. Okay, now I could go to the final judgment. Also, a cool thing about the auction site, they already have all the docs for you. So I could just go to the final judgment and I don't have to do all the work of like looking up the case, right? Finding it, blah, 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 blah. I just go to the final judgment and all those docs are already there. So let's look at this final judgment. Amended final judgment. Wow, principal is $253. Deferred balance, $139,000. Yikes. So the final judgment ends up being $467, and it'll actually tell you when the auction date is. Boom. It's supposed to go in 2024. So again, this final judgment is old. So the last final judgment that they have is from May of 2024. So that amount is way higher. Okay. This is incorrect. The county made a mistake. The attorneys from the foreclosure made a mistake. So let's just run the play now. All right. So I'm going to go to Miami-Dade, civil case search, and I'm going to see what the heck is going on with this foreclosure. You also have the case number right here. So it's a 2019 case. Here's your case number. So 2019, boom, bam. And we're going to do CA. It's always CA for foreclosures. Circuit Civil. Let's go to the docket. 136. That's a lot. Here we go. Plaintiff's motion to reschedule foreclosure. See, so the plaintiff, You see what I'm saying? So this was canceled. This is a perfect example. So this was canceled, right? Per bankruptcy. It was canceled in November, right? She was supposed to go to auction November, whatever date this was. This was November 17th. Okay? This is her right here. You go to the docket and look at what happened. What did I say? They buy themselves time, right? And then, bam, motivation starts again. Look at what the bank did. So let me show you the full thing. You see here, notice of bankruptcy, right? It's also known as a suggestion of bankruptcy. So they filed the bankruptcy right here, 11/14/2025, right before Thanksgiving. They ran out of time, right? Something happened with the bankruptcy. Here's the bankruptcy case number, by the way. Something happened and they say, hey, we want to set, the bank says, hey, we want to reset the motion. We want to set the motion to reset the sale. Boom. Now here we go. And they did. Now, February 17th is the new sale. Okay. So here, let's do this. Here you go. Notice of hearing. Hold on, please. Excuse me, not the sale. Hold on. The notice of hearing will be February 17th. I'm sorry. So, beep, 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 beep. Yeah, so they filed a motion to reset. Yeah, so the bankruptcy was dismissed December 9th. Boom. They gave you a copy of it. Boom. There you go. Now they're going to reset it. And then, of course, it takes time. The judges are busy, the holidays, whatever. Notice of hearing. So they have a hearing set now, February 17th. So after February 17th, I can almost guarantee you this will be reset for auction. Now, the most important thing is, does this thing have equity or not? That's the only thing I care about, okay? Here's the notice of sale, order resetting. Hold on. Motion to reset. So look, this is a habitual BK filer. So this seller has filed bankruptcy multiple times. You see that? Order denying motion, and then boom, they filed the bankruptcy. So she's already used to doing this. She's been going through this for 7 years, man. This seller's just playing the game. Good for her. And that's why the new final judgment isn't even here. But I can use the old final judgment. So let's just use that, which I think I still have here. Yeah. Sadly, this number is wrong. 467. Why? Because the last final judgment that we have is from 2024, man. So it's been accruing interest and fees. So a lot of people are going to bid on this if she doesn't file for bankruptcy again, which the judge will probably stop her at this point because it's multiple times. They do have rules for that. Someone's going to go to this and bid on it and say, holy shit, this is a great deal, right? The final judgment is 467. House is definitely worth more than that, by the way. We'll run comps here in a second. But the problem is they got to look. The bank's never going to accept that. Why? I mean, it could, but highly unlikely, right? Why? Because this final judgment was filed in 2024. So this thing was supposed to go to auction July 8th, 2024. So that means that almost a year and a half later, you got to add interest and fees to this number. So this number is probably closer to like 540. So guys at the auction are going to see this and they're going to say, oh man, look at that, 467. This is awesome, right? In reality, the bank is not going to accept anything below like 540 just because the numbers aren't correct, all right? Now, let's go look at that. So let's say what's owed is 540, all right? Now we're going to go to the comps. It's a big house. It's a 5'2", 2,200 square feet. Here we go. Yeah, so the bank's definitely not going to take less than the final judgment. Why? Because look at the comps. Why would they? They know that they're going to get bid up higher. This is also a really good way to see that they probably won't accept loss mitigation below the full payoff amount because the as-is condition probably doesn't match that. So this house is definitely worth at least $775, $785 all day long. So it does have equity, 540 to 7 something. So if I got in touch with this seller I could probably still put 50 grand at least in this seller's pocket, and I can resell it. I can fix and flip it if I want, right? It's not a problem. That makes sense, guys? Any questions on that? Feel free, because I'm going to move on to the next one. This is some really good practice. Let's go to the next page. We got a lot of these here. This was canceled per the county. Interesting. This sold to a third-party bidder. Look at that. Final judgment was $833. They got $625. By the way, if I wanted to do this in any other county in Florida and in a few other states, but let's just go to a different county. I don't know. Let's look up Duval. Why not? Duval is Jacksonville. Let's go to the East Coast or the northern part of the state. So let's go look at this. Calendar. Boom. Let's pick this one out. This is going to be February 7th. So this already happened, right? So the plaintiff means that the bank bought it back. Yes, banks can do that. Third party bidder. Look at this. This guy got a great deal. Let's look at this deal. Final judgment was $196. This guy ends up getting $78,000. All right. Let's just run the play on this. And again, guys, this is all I would do. Like, this is literally so simple to do. And if I found one, hey, this is a good one, boom, I would just call Kevin Long right there. Bam, I have his contact information right there, no problem. End of story. This property says it's upside down. It was upside down, and you can tell this thing was a beater. But somebody got a great deal on the auction site, right? They tried, again, see this? They tried to sell it in 2023, couldn't do it. Probably trying to do a short sale. It didn't happen. Boom, they tried to do a probate too. So you see how these triggers kind of all line up, right? Probates, foreclosures, tax delinquency, probate, inheritance. You see how all this kind of, that kind of stuff. Will, do you look at regular foreclosure or would you target tax foreclosure mainly? I would target both, 100%. Just so you understand, it's a great question. Just so you understand, a lot of tax foreclosures or tax deeds get paid off because the amounts are so small. They're 20 grand, 30 grand, 10 grand, right? Sometimes they go to auction, but it's a lot more likely that a seller would be able to pay that off rather than like a mortgage foreclosure for $300,000. Chances are they're not going to be able to get out of that, right? So I would do both though, because I've gotten deals on both sides and they're both really, really good. If you want to take that a step further, I would do tax foreclosure, mortgage foreclosure, inheritance. That is an even better lead because now you have heirs that probably don't even know that they inherited this pile of crap. So that's how you would take it a step further. And if you want to take it a step further from that, so you go foreclosure on either side, tax foreclosure, mortgage foreclosure, with heirs, the next step is what? This is some high level shit. Heirs with judgments, heirs with problems, heirs with credit card violations, heirs with judgments on their profile, heirs that are in foreclosure themselves, you see? Heirs that are out of state. So that's the next layer up. There is no layer up from that, but that is the next layer up. So this guy paid, what did he pay? He got it for $78,100. Let's see if he got a good deal or not. This is a 3, 1.5. Jacksonville is all over the place with comps. So let's just take a look. This is a 3, 1.5 on this side of the road, south of, this is the hood. I could just tell you this is definitely the hood. Jacksonville has some deep hood pockets. So 3-1, 1,000 square feet. Yeah, the buyer got a good deal. Buyer got a great deal. He paid $78,000. Houses are trading all day long for 100, 120. I wouldn't count this as probably new construction. It's not, but it's huge. And Jacksonville is just crazy. Like it just fluctuates so much in value. So here's one that sold for, look at that, for 103. Cute little house. This property is a portfolio, may be sold individually. Okay. So, yep, these guys owned it. When did they buy this? Contract of sale. That's interesting. Warranty deed. Bum, 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 bum. THC. Yeah, this guy got a good deal. Let's go to the next one. So, guys, this is literally a list that you could just keep going off like forever. So, let's say I want to go to Hillsborough, right, which is Tampa. Let's go to Tampa now. And I'm bouncing around the state. There's so many of these to go after all across the state, by the way. It's easy. So let's go here. And I would say, well, let me go to my calendar. Boom. Here we go. March. Let's see what's going on. Let's see what's cooking in March. Let's pick this one out. March 27th. Here we go. I don't know why this is hidden, but here's your case number. This is interesting. Hold on. They might not have it set up yet because it's so far ahead. Hold on. There we go. All right. I don't know what that was. I think that was just an error. Here we go. 85,000 is the final. This is a really good one. How can you see how much a seller owes on their mortgage without being in foreclosure? Yeah, good question. I would use our app. You need to have some kind of an app or some kind of software that tells you what the last mortgage was. So for example, the last loan here was in 2023 for 140,000. So that's how I would know. And you kind of just guesstimate. Like, let's say, again, just for the sake of numbers, let's say this house was worth 300 and the guy has a mortgage for 140 from a few years ago. Does it have equity or not, right? It has a ton of equity. So that's how I would do that. You need to have some kind of app or software to do that. All right. So let me grab this guy. Whatever. Doesn't even matter because they're all good. Boom. What is going on here? There we go. Sometimes the addresses too, guys, they might have like a different number or like a TH or an ST, and the app might not pick it up. So just start deleting them and then it'll work. So we got 695. They tried to list this. Of course, they were trying to push the market. Doesn't surprise me. Here we go. Last mortgage, you said, right, Brian? You said, hey, how can we know? Here's your last mortgage. Was a refi for $80,000. So this was a small refi. I can just tell just by looking at the profile of the seller that they were in trouble and they were having issues. Why? Because in 2021, they take out, so there's a gap in loans between 2006 and 2021, right? So here they take out a mortgage. They got a 3% interest rate, which is a gift, right? Like a gift nowadays. 375. All of a sudden, they end up in pre-foreclosure, obviously, and they end up taking out an $80,000 loan from Discover Bank, which is probably a HELOC, a home equity line of credit. And now they're in big trouble, and they tried to sell it. Didn't work out for them. All right. So they tried to sell this in April of 2025. App says the property has negative 44% equity. Yeah, we got to see why. It's a good question. We got to see why. I think the app just could be wrong, by the way. Let's see the final judgment. Oh, wow, there's a lot of judgments. Whoa. Hold up. That's probably why the app picked it up. Yeah, there's a lot of these. So here's one judgment. 2024, the judgment. Okay. Boom, 298. That was as of 2024. And then they have a bunch of other stuff on their record. So these are all the judgments. Here's another one. Yeah, so in this case, I think the app just might have made a mistake. Upside down, I don't know why. Maybe it picked up all of these mortgages. Maybe it didn't pick up the one being paid, but that's interesting. But the house is definitely worth a lot more money. So the final judgment here is 300,000. We see that, right? You got to zoom in and make sure you're in the same community. I mean, the house is worth somewhere around the 600s for sure. It's a 5'3", 3,700 square feet. Boom, boom, boom. Here it is, 670. This looks like a pretty good one, 550. Then you got, this is a 5'4", 860, 725. So it definitely has equity, guys, for sure. All right, guys, I got to jump because I got to get ready for this webinar call. I appreciate all the questions. As always, it's a pleasure to have you. Like and subscribe if you got value out of this, and hit the little bell if you want notifications. I go live every single day, 5 to 6, Saturdays 12 to 1. I will see you guys on the webinar tonight at 6 to 7, okay? Appreciate you guys. Take care. God bless.